Hey everyone, it's Justine the Twilight Stamper, and today I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to create this really cool tag, and it's inspired from the 12 tags of 2015 from Tim Holtz. I made a couple mistakes along the way that I turned out really nice actually. I started off by taking the various stamps from this stamp set here, and I arranged them onto my tag so that I could create some really cool backgrounds. This is the Random Quotes stamp set from Stampers Anonymous. I had to do a little bit of rearranging, but I fit them all onto my stamp press at the same time, and I inked them up using archival black ink. To make sure that you have enough to fit over the tag, but you don't need to ink up the whole stamp on all of them. Now press down evenly and just remove your fingers along all of those stamps to make sure that they're pressed into it. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take White Picket Fence, Dusty Concord, Barn Door, Festive Berries, and Broken China, all distress paints, and I put them onto my craft mat. I sprayed them using my mini mister, and I soaked them quite a bit so that they became more fluid as far as the paints are concerned. They're not exactly the consistency of a distress stain at the moment, but kind of in between a paint and a distress stain. Now this is where the fun comes in. I grabbed my tag and I plopped it and dragged it through the mud of colors here, and then I just went in and I tapped it through, and I added some water onto my tag here to make sure that the water filled in all those spots that I didn't get before, and I went in and just tapped it again in some of the puddles of paint and to make sure that it was covered. I cleaned it all up, and then I dried the tag. As you're drying these manila tags, they end up going back to almost the flatness that they were before. Alright, I went in with my EK Powder Success tool because I wanted to do some stamping in Versamark ink and do some embossing. I differed a little bit from the Tim Holtz tutorial here because I thought I was using clear embossing powder, but I was actually using white embossing powder. Oops. So I stamped the butterfly and I white embossed it. I'm sorry I didn't get that on camera. I guess I forgot to turn it on for that part. So I ended up using some texture paint. Tim Holtz created a mask for his, and I didn't bother because this would have taken a really long time to do a mask for. So I just texture painted around the stamped image and did my best to not get it on the stamps, and I just wiped off what was on the stamps afterwards. I'm using clear texture paste from Dreamweaver, and I really like the way that that turned out, even though in the end you only really get to see it in person, the results that that makes. So after I was finished with all that texture paste, I removed the stencil and let it dry. Or not let it dry, sorry. In the tutorial from Tim Holtz, he had used a gold embossing powder on top of the texture paint. I don't have actually any embossing powders other than clear and white because I just don't use them very often. And I plan on investing in another gold and silver in the future, especially with my Christmas card class coming up. I just cleaned up those butterflies there in the meantime. And then I went in and I grabbed some of the Distress glitter, and I poured that onto the texture paste, and that ended up giving it a really cool look in the end, and it's a really sparkly tag this week. So I just tapped off the excess glitter there by flicking it onto the paper, and I was able to clean that up really easily. Let's zoom in here. I took this Enjoy the Journey. I love these metal things or expressions from Tim Holtz, and I grabbed some white paint and I kind of just got it into those crevices of those words and using my brush, and then I used my fingers to actually just wipe away the excess paint. And you can do this with any of those paint colors and that will work for you. If you take a baby wipe and just lightly wipe it off, that will work too, as long as you're not getting in the crevices to clean out that paint. You just let that dry and it's good to go. I set that off to the side for a bit to dry, and then I strung some hemp through that, and I'm using just white hemp. I tried to use some Tombow mono glue to stick that on. It didn't end up working, and I ended up using some glue dots and some foam tape, and that worked out a lot better. And I stuck this hemp a couple of layers over the tag there to give it a little bit of extra texture. And then I just secured those edges of my string onto the back using a piece of washi tape. And that's just easy to do. I mean, nobody's going to really see the back of the tag anyway, or really pay attention to it. I realize I'm really running out of embellishments from Tim Holtz here. I'm going in and using these gears. It's a really feminine card, but I really thought that these gears would look really cool. So I just dabbed some white distress paint on them, just a little bit anyway, to give them a little bit of extra texture, and then I attached those using my Tombow mono glue. So that's the end of my card for this month. I hope you enjoyed it. You can see all the sparkle and shine on that card, and you can just barely see that texture paste now, now that it's cleared, but it really created a cool look. So I hope you enjoyed that video today and that you'll join me for the challenge and join me throughout the 12 months this year. Thanks so much for watching. Here you're welcome to subscribe, and I have a link to my January and February 2015 tag. Thanks so much.